In the meanwhile, I could not help making anticipations. Fancy reveled in the wild and dreamy regions of the moon. Imagination, feeling herself for once unshackled, roamed at will among the ever changing wonders of a shadowy and unstable land. Greetings, Poe fans, and welcome back to one of our degree episodes. And
Woohoo!
Jeanie,
Yeah.
who are we talking about tonight?
Well, instead of my face, many people can see the man that we're discussing. It's Mr. Ray Bradbury, one of
Yay!
you know, another Poe fanatic that unfortunately we didn't get a chance to meet, but was
Yeah.
in the spotlight for many, many years. And we thought, what better way to kick off season 6 with our sci-fi than to
Yes.
talk about the man that was almost as dedicated to Poe as we are.
I agree. And before we kind of get into all the details,
Mhm.
the devil in the details, or should we say Beaker in the details? I'm just being trying to be silly
Beaker.
with
Okay,
science.
yeah. That'd
Or
be Peaky.
The Martian in the details. He with the genres that he wrote in, to me, because I think you and I both have always called Poe a Renaissance man. Ray Bradbury was also a Renaissance man because he wrote in so many genres as well.
Yeah, he did bring a lot to the table in different
Mhm.
ways. Now, some of his stuff was kind of a build upon, in my
Mhm.
opinion, of other things that he had already written.
Yeah,
So, but he did step out into different genres other than sci-fi and science.
absolutely. Yeah, horror.
Hmm.
And he did children's books too. And we'll get into more of it, but I just wanted to mention that because I think that's an important note for people to know that
Yeah,
don't know a lot about Bradbury.
I think he did some poetry. I don't
Yes, he
remember
did.
reading a lot of poetry of his, but yeah,
Hmm.
he had poetry also.
Yeah, I've read more of his science fiction than anything.
Well, and I guess we could say a little bit about him being pop culture
Hmm.
because of
Absolutely.
some of the stuff that he was writing about in um those things. So yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was about as prolific as Poe was in the Renaissance ways.
yeah. So I guess kind of going into his life, he was
Mhm.
born August 22nd. We're only missing that by 11 days to celebrate his birthday. So this is actually another good month to talk about him. But
Yeah.
he was born in 1920 in Waukegan, Illinois, and
Yep.
he died June 5th, 2012, in Los Angeles.
Yep. So he would have been 106.
Yes. And this is the sixth season.
There you go. Those sixes are
All the
showing up a
sixes.
lot.
I know.
All the sixes.
Oh, but so basically his career spanned between like 60, 70 years. He
Hmm.
wrote, I think, around 400 short stories and around 50 books. And some of his books were kind of a conglomeration of several short stories that he wrote because he would repurpose some of his work for future endeavors. And one of the articles I was looking at, that they kind of compared that to Poe because Poe would do the same thing. He would edit it a little bit, change the name, and republish it later. So I
Hmm.
thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and well, one of the things is he wrote short stories kind of like when Poe would write his stuff with his poetry and stuff like that. He wouldn't write very long novel length of anything.
Hmm.
So he stayed true to Poe that way of
Mm-hmm.
living and breathing the short story because he understood that a lot of people were more apt to read something in a short period of time rather than a long, you know, drawn sitting. So,
Absolutely. Kind of like, depending on the length of the short story, it might be as long as a sitcom, like 30-minute TV program, or as long as a drama type episode, comparing it to the medium of television.
right. Yeah, and especially when he started getting, I guess, more popular around
Hmm.
1950
Hmm.
and everything, because he was starting to have to compete with television. You know,
Yes.
always before he was just competing with radio and the
Yeah.
silent films and
Hmm.
movie and everything. But then in the 1950s, he was competing with the big new age of television, not even color
Hmm.
television, just television. Now, they
Yes.
weren't around in a lot of homes at that time because still a lot of people couldn't afford them.
Expensive.
They were
Right.
expensive.
Hmm.
And a lot of people really didn't have a time to read. They were industrial. It was just after World War II and
Hmm.
recovery was in place and all that kind of stuff. So, and then of course, 1950, we were back in the war with Korea.
Hmm.
So there was still a lot of unrest going on
Oh,
at that
absolutely.
time.
And I actually did write down like all of the types of things that he wrote. So, as we talked about, he did poems, short stories, novels. He wrote essays, plays, operas,
Hmm.
also teleplays and screenplays as well. Uh, One of the things that I thought was very interesting that John Huston had him write the screenplay from Herman Melville's Moby Dick
Yep.
that starred Gregory Peck. And so I thought that was a really neat little tidbit that I did not know that he wrote the screenplay for that.
No, that kind of actually makes sense that he would, or that
Mm-hmm.
he would be asked to.
Yeah.
And also, he did, if I remember reading it correctly, he did some teleplays and stuff for like the Alfred Hitchcock Hour.
Mm-hmm.
He even himself had his own little Ray Bradbury,
Yes.
was it?
Theater. I
Yeah,
think it was
theater.
theater. Yeah.
And so
He
that
adapted,
was cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
for that, he adapted 65 of his own short stories.
Mhm.
And I would love to go find that now and watch those. And and here's the thing, because you mentioned Alfred Hitchcock, and I knew that he had written some for the both of the Alfred Hitchcock series, because there were technically two, if you like, even though they were very similar. But the only Twilight Zone episode that is one of his stories, and actually originally a poem by Walt Whitman, I Sing the Body Electric. And
Mhm.
apparently he submitted more scripts for the Twilight Zone, but just because of, I think, budgetary reasons and things like that, those screenplays did not get made for the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. In some ways, I can understand that
Mm-hmm.
because the Twilight Zone itself wasn't really um, revered, I guess, when it first started because, Rod, Rod, make sure
Rod
I say it
Serling.
right. Thank you.
Serling. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sterling. I always want to say Sterling, but it's Serling,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So, I
Yes.
don't know
No
why I want to
T.
call it Sterling.
Yeah, no
Uh,
T.
yeah. So, he had to basically fight to continue to get it on the air kind of thing.
Mm,
And it only lasted as long as it did because it became a cult classic at
yes,
that time.
absolutely.
And it didn't hurt that he got a lot of up and comings playing in the shows, like William Shatner and then
Hmm.
Meredith. Why can't I say his name? Burgess. What's his name?
Burgess
Played the
Meredith.
penguin. Yeah, Burgess. I always say it backwards.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I wonder if on the Ray Bradbury Theater, if that was the same way as well. I would very much imagine so.
yeah, and if and that was one of the things that as we were searching and I was researching and everything to
Hmm.
find out that there was a lot of stuff that we could turn this into more than one episode just for Ray Bradbury because he was a lot like Poe and had was a Renaissance and had a lot of fingers in the pie sort of thing. Uh,
Absolutely. Yes.
not just with his writings, but with everything else. His involvement in theater, his involvement in TV, opera, all that wonderful stuff. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's
but this isn't strictly just about Ray Bradbury. This is about Ray Bradbury's homage to Poe.
yes. Yes. One other, I was going to say some other things just related to his like film, TV career or part of his career, I should say. He was nominated for an Academy Award in 1962,
Mm-hmm.
and he also won an Emmy for a version of the Halloween tree in 1993.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
uh, something I read, I think he liked The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, but he decided to write kind of his own Halloween story with that. And it's one that I've read, but it's been a long time ago, and I want to reread it because I don't remember all of it, but I remember I enjoyed it. And so that's one I want to go revisit.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
Hmm.
So I would have to go back and look it up. And
Absolutely.
also in 2004, he won
Hmm.
the National Medal of Arts
Yes. Yes.
because of his contribution to American fiction as
Hmm.
one of the great storytellers uh, and everything, and especially about how he illuminated the human condition. That's one of the things they
Yes.
did give him credit for. And I'm like,
Hmm.
well, yeah, because he was living through a lot at the
Oh my
time, especially
gosh.
1920. He was born right before the Great Depression.
Right.
And then after the great, the stock market crash of 29, which led into the Depression, which, World War II had just gotten finished in 1918, along with the Spanish flu,
Hmm.
the pandemic and all that. So he grew up in a time where, like Poe, he was going through some struggles, mostly
Hmm.
of as we're talking about, the human condition struggles.
Right.
And I think that led to his being able to write about it
Yeah, I would totally agree with that.
and write about it. Now, like I said earlier, he did have, for me, at least in my own opinion, some of his stories were a little too redundant in some
Okay.
areas for me.
Hmm. Uh-huh.
Even though he put them in different settings and all that, it just kind of was like, yeah, I've read this before, you know.
Right.
And he was very prolific and very much a figurative language man
Hmm.
because he loved his description.
Absolutely.
And there was nothing wrong with that. I mean, it was very good for building the picture, but
Right.
sometimes it got a little tiring going, dude,
And
come
of
on.
course, me, I'm like, let's add some more words.
Yeah, that's just I mean, I love verbose in certain things,
Right.
I don't like to be dictated to every single thing about a story. That's what bothers me.
Right. I know. Well, it is nice to infer and kind of take away your own thoughts from it as well and add to it based on what the author gives you. I totally get that.
Yeah, and I mean that's one of the things with the stories, like with Ray Bradbury's stories, the Martian Chronicles, and like the one that's behind you, the
Yeah.
Illustrated Man,
Here it
uh,
is.
is it's all about taking an escape, but at the same time leading you with the human element.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's one of the things with it is that he definitely puts you in a different setting, but he hits you with the humanity or lack thereof of certain
Right.
aspects of humanity.
Absolutely. One other thing I was going to say too about just his writing style. It was definitely modern. It fit the time he wrote, but when you think about the verbosity of it, I think that's how you would say that word. Um, i- the descriptions are very similar to like how Poe would write. I mean, think
Mhm.
about the opening of The Fall of the House of Usher and as many words as Poe used in that first entrance into the tarn and then the house. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that played a part in Bradbury really being influenced by Poe. That type of thing went into his own writing. It's kind of
Yeah,
how
and I
I
think it
see it.
needed to because,
Hmm.
like with Poe, Bradbury was creating uh, a scene that wasn't truly real.
Right.
He was
Hmm.
taking a little bit of reality, but he was skewing it with his own imagination. And so
Hmm.
he had to build it so the reader could see it.
Right.
And
Exactly.
okay. He did do that. Good Lord. Like Poe,
Hmm.
because like you were talking about with Fall of the House of Usher, many of us have never actually went and seen some castle-like place with a tarn and a moat
Hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. So we would need that picture.
Absolutely. Yes.
So that was one of the things that yes, it was like reading the more modern version of Poe with his
Hmm.
descriptions.
Oh yeah. And it's no wonder that he received a Pulitzer Prize citation in 2007 because of his and I quote from his own website, he prolific and deeply influential career. And I mean, for somebody to write as long as he did and to have that number, the oeuvre, his collection of works in the different genres and everything, and plus all of the things related to space during the space race that I did not know all of that about him, and I just found that so fascinating.
Yeah, and one of the things is I was reading certain things with the Usher 2 and the Exiles and a few other things
Oh
that
yes,
you're
we need to
talking
talk
about
about
with the
that.
space race. All I could think about was the Thunderbirds. You know, the cartoon, the puppetry cartoon, the Thunderbirds.
I
You
think
ever
I know what
watched
you're
it?
talking about. I don't know if I
Yeah.
watched it, but I know
Oh,
what you're talking about. Yeah.
it was all about how they were a family who they had built these rockets that could do these amazing things, and they had a space station that was orbiting around the Earth and all this kind of
Hmm.
stuff. And every time he was talking about something, and I was thinking, oh, I wonder if he influenced that because of those shows, because they were definitely descriptions that matched when he was talking about the rockets.
Yeah.
It was like, huh. And
It
then with Fahrenheit 451,
51. Hmm.
yeah. All I could think about was Footloose,
Yeah,
the
I
book
remember you
burning of
said that.
Footloose. Yeah. And how they took dancing out, because that's one of the things he talks about in these stories that he mentions Poe, is they have taken away Halloween, they've taken away Christmas,
Yes.
they have gotten rid of all these books that had any kind of fantasy with it. It's all about
Mm-hmm.
just very scientific. Everything was science. And I was like, well, yeah, that fit with Footloose. And
Oh
so, but
yeah.
it's just very interesting that Poe influenced Bradbury, and the amount of things that maybe Bradbury influenced that many people may not know
I,
or
I, I, I
even think
totally
about.
agree. And just what I was referring to with the space race and things like that, the Apollo 15 crew named a moon crater Dandelion after his book Dandelion Wine.
Hmm.
And it's a great book. I actually read that a few years ago. I listened to it. It's fantastic. They named an asteroid, or there was an asteroid that was designated 9766 Bradbury. Uh, there were rocks on Mars that were named the Martian Chronicles.
Hmm.
And I just thought this was just fascinating. And that he did also work with NASA some.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, well, he just fit in that time period, and he just had so much influence him, both
Hmm.
good and bad,
Yeah.
because unfortunately, some of the things that, like we were talking about with Fahrenheit 451 and the book burning and everything, he was living during the times of the Red Scare, the Bay of Pigs,
Hmm.
the wars, World War I, just after World War I, he was born, the Great Depression, the fall of the stock market, World War II, you know, you got Korea, so communism was big going on, and
Well,
so then you got
and
Vietnam.
I'm even thinking of, yeah, during World War II with real book burnings in Germany
Uh-huh.
and other
Oh yeah.
places. I mean, it just, and just like Poe, he wrote what he knew. And I
Hmm.
wanted to say wrote what he know, but so it would rhyme with Poe, but I did
Yeah, thank you.
correct
Don't do
mine.
that. Yeah.
Oh,
He wrote what he knew to be
yes,
at the
absolutely.
time. So yeah, I mean, he had a plethora of things to unfortunately spurn his creativity,
Mm-hmm.
and bring forth a lot of people into the know. There
Yes.
you go.
Yeah, that thank you. Thank you for
You're
doing the
welcome.
rhyming. Yeah,
Uh,
and then kind of adding to that, in 1979, he hosted and co-wrote a news special on ABC about space exploration, and it was called Infinite Horizons: Space Beyond Apollo, and that's where he won the Emmy Award from the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. And so he wasn't just a dreamer thinking about science fiction. He
mhm.
knew his science as well to back it up. And I love that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's some of the best things about uh, writing, is when you write things that you can manipulate from your actual knowledge of the truth.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Oh, I
And
know it. And I'm just about finished reading The Martian Chronicles. I have two chapters left. And the second to last chapter is a short story that, I mean, a lot of these stories can be pulled out and read individually. They kind of like can stand alone, but they're interconnected through when he puts them together in a book.
mhm.
But this particular one is called There Will Come Soft Rains, and it was published in May 6th, 1950. And Judy, you and I were talking about this, I think yesterday,
Mhm.
how the date of the story is, I think, was it August 4th?
August the 6th. No, yeah, August the 4th, 2026.
Yes. And so I've been teaching this story for not several years, but a few years. And it is such a good short story standing alone. It's gonna fit nicely into the Martian Chronicles. But the things that he predicted, just kind of like how Poe was kind of the same way,
Hmm.
it's fascinating because I don't want to give too many spoilers, but like there's something like Alexa in there, like Roomba, the little vacuum that, goes
Hmm.
around. And I don't want to tell too much, but I told my students last year, I'm like, this was in the spring when we read it in May, and I was like, I wish we could read this on the date, when it actually, is taking place in 2026. Unfortunately, students didn't come back that soon,
Hmm.
but it's just it's eerie. And so Jeff and I were talking last night. I was telling a few things about Ray Bradbury and all of this kind of related to what we're talking about. And I was like, or maybe it was you, I can't remember. And it was like maybe Poe or Bradbury, one figured out time traveling and went and picked the other one up, and they
Yeah.
went around lots of different years.
Yeah, it was me. We were
Okay,
talking about that, how
that's
they
right.
they
Yes,
met and they were traveling back and forth through time to
yes,
find all these cool things to write about and to talk
yes.
about.
Yeah, that's right. I couldn't remember because I did say something to Jeff about Ray Bradbury, but
Hmm.
my brain's a little bit tired because this is our first week back with our students, but it's been amazing so far. So,
Oh, good. Well, and the one thing about the rains come softly, or however it's titled, I can't remember.
yeah, there comes soft rains. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was close.
You
There
were.
comes soft rains. It is very much an apocalyptic story,
Absolutely. Yes.
which we know that even Poe, some of his stuff wasn't completely apocalyptic, but he
Hmm.
did verge on some things that were more of a destructive nature,
Oh yeah. I
like
mean,
all of
Mask of
the
the Red Death.
controversial, yeah, Mask of the Red Death, all those kinds of things. It
Hmm.
wasn't on a big scale, but there was definitely things like with pandemic and stuff with the Mask of the Red Death
Hmm.
had tendency to match with the Black Plague that happened earlier.
Yes.
So yeah, I hate to say it, but when you got good material like that, you might as well, write about it. So
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
but
It's
yeah,
just,
the things that are so similar, it's like, well, could he be a type of reincarnation of Poe?
yeah,
As
seriously.
close it was, yeah.
And here's the other thing that we talked about this a little bit too, is that, and I got to see some of this like in person, let's see, I think back in, I think it was 2019, I went to the American Writers Museum in Chicago. And our listeners and viewers, if you get a chance to go to that museum, it's fantastic. And they always have some type of rotation of special exhibit. And this particularly time I went, they had one on Ray Bradbury. And so they had a kind of a um, construct of his office there with some of his things. It wasn't, if you look at his website and the pictures of his like real office, he's got so much stuff. I couldn't imagine having as much stuff as he had in there. But I got to see some of his typewriters, and what was really fun was they had a few typewriters sitting out. They weren't his, but they wanted you to start a story and you could leave it in the typewriter for somebody else to come along and add to it. So I did that. And I don't know if anybody finished my story, but that was a lot of fun. But the thing where I'm kind of going with this kind of bird walking around it is that he, as much as he wrote about futuristic technologies and space and going to Mars, he did not like computers and he wanted his typewriter. That's what he wanted to write on. And it kind of makes me think about, you know, Poe. I don't know. Do you know what year the typewriter came out? Like the very early they
If
did
I
it?
remember,
Like,
I think it was 1930 something.
okay. I couldn't remember if it did
Hold
it.
on.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I'll keep talking while you're looking that up. So it kind of just made me think about Poe, because he would have, just, had ink and pen, dipping and all that. And it's like, I don't think Poe would have wanted to write in any different format than what he had. I just get that gut feeling.
Yeah. Um,
Even,
well, technically it was patented, the design was patented June 23rd, 1868.
oh, wow.
And the first models were released in 1874.
Okay. So it was older than I thought
Yeah. But of course, like with everything else, it wasn't as widely spread
at first.
because this was I think the first, let's see, the first typewriter was actually in the 19th century in Europe, of course.
Mm-hmm.
That the guy, and I can't find his name at this moment, actually created the first typewriter for his blind friend.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, and actually, Mark Twain was the among the first to use what he called the newfangled writing machine.
Oh, that just sounds like him.
So, but yeah, 1868 was the first year it was patented,
Mm-hmm.
but it became popular around 1893
Okay.
in Scotland and then made it into the UK in the 1890s, and then kind of spread from there.
Okay.
Uh,
So, it preceded Poe, or I'm sorry, not preceded. It
yeah,
came after Poe about 20
yes.
years. And it's like if Poe had had the opportunity to use a typewriter, like if he had lived that long, would
Mhm.
he have? And I don't know. I have a gut feeling he might have been like, oh no, I'm going to stick to what I know.
Well, and that's the thing. Agatha Christie even used a typewriter,
Mm-hmm.
and she
Yeah.
said it made it easier for her to gather her thoughts.
Yeah.
So I think it was, if you think about it, in our early days,
Yeah.
the personal computer started getting popularized in the late
Mm-hmm.
70s, early 80s, but even then, most people were balking at it.
Yeah.
They didn't want to use it. I mean, think about it. We started out with the radio, then we went
Mm-hmm.
to the phonographs, then we went to the 8 tracks, and then we went to the cassettes. So things are progressing and changing, but at the same time, there's still those that like the good stuff. The case in point, case in point, my brother, they just had to get a new vehicle due to, unfortunately, an accident.
Mm-hmm.
And the new vehicle, now it wasn't a new vehicle, it's 5 years old because they got a used one. He
Right.
was so fussy because this one, it didn't have a CD player, didn't have a cassette deck, didn't have a CD player, didn't have anything. And he
Right.
was so upset with that. He's like, "What am I going to do? Where am I? I got to play my CDs," because he took him forever to switch over from tape deck.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then his wife was like, "You'll just have to get over it." And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
well, technically, in this day and age, not a lot of people use CDs anymore.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So
absolutely.
I can see writers like Poe, he would probably be like, oh, whatever. No, I'm not going to use something like that. Give me the old quill and paper because
Yep.
it's easier to put it down that way.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then, but sometimes, and you got to think about it. Was the typewriter what made so many be more prolific with their writing?
That's a good question. That's a really
Yeah.
that's an interesting thing to that'd be an
Mhm.
interesting discussion.
Yeah. I mean, and think about it
Mhm.
nowadays. We have ways of dictating onto the computer, so we
Mm-hmm.
don't even have to type.
That's true. I can honestly say I have always been open to new technology.
Mhm.
My father loved technology, and we had like when it was very early on, we had uh, answering machine, and we had not VHS recorder. He got the beta version because it was supposed to be better quality, and I think it was. And then we had a Radio Shack Tandy computer. And I can remember playing a whodunit game on there, and the printer paper was silver, and it was only a couple of inches wide. And it's basically, it was like writing code in a way. You just had to know what you were doing, and then it would print out the little slip of who I could mark and everything. And so once, more modern computers came around, I was open to them, and it's fascinating to think about everything that has changed, since Poe and Bradbury and going into the future of what are we going to have?
Yeah, and the thing about it is, even the typewriter is technology. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's a piece
Absolutely.
of technology, and I used to love. I mean, I learned how to type on one of the typewriters that Bradbury used because
Mm-hmm.
in my typing class in high school, that's the type of typewriters we had.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because I went to a really poor school, but it's just so amazing that, well, for me, one of the things I loved was the sound. Just
Oh,
the click,
me
the
too.
click, and the ding, click, click,
Yeah.
the ding, because it just kind of that gratification every time you heard that ding, knowing you finished a line. You
Yes.
know,
Yes, I
uh,
agree. I agree. And I'm sure that fed into Bradbury's
mhm.
love of the typewriter.
Oh yeah. I mean, he had to have gotten this wonderful feeling of knowing when he was finishing and then pulling that sheet of paper out once he's finished, knowing, ooh, that's one page down. Let's go to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And
And yeah, well, and I was going to add to kind of just thinking about just the how like process of writing and like just all of those kinds of things. I read his book called The Zen in the Art of Writing. And one of the things that just really stuck with me was he wrote at least 1,000 words a day. And so after I read this book like right at the end of school, this past school year, because it's a very quick read. It's just a little book. I think it was less than 200 pages. And I started practicing that. I didn't do it on the weekends, but I did it during the week. And some days I wrote more than that. Some days I wrote roughly 1,000 words. I mean, it might be a little bit more or whatever. but it helped me to get used to writing every day and not making excuses, because that was one of the other things he would say is not making excuses. And he's written a couple of books on like writing, and it wasn't that he was doing it to say you need to do this, you have to do this. It's just this is how I've done it. Maybe it'll work for you, which I thought was really nice. And then when you think about Poe, he also wrote a few things about writing, which was the philosophy of composition. He wrote that in 1846. The poetic principle was in 1850, and the rationale of verse was, I think it was published in 1843. And so I'm looking at the dates, but there's two dates for that. I think it was I think he republished it. But and that's another thing that Poe and Bradbury have in common. They both wrote about writing. It's almost metacognition when you think about thinking. I don't know if there's a word for writing about writing.
Well, it's wrote.
Yeah, yes.
It's
I'm
wrote
gonna
now.
look I'm gonna look that up. But
Yeah,
the Zen and the Art of Writing was, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and just it was great for nonfiction from him.
yeah. I think out of the two stories that we were reading, because they were very much Poe
Oh,
influenced,
yes, I'll
that
say yeah, if you want to talk about both of those while I'm looking this up.
yeah, the one that he included in the Martian Chronicles is Usher 2,
Mm-hmm.
which one of the things I was like blown away reading it,
Yeah.
because it had such the flair of Poe and reinventing, because he literally reinvented the House of Usher, and he
Yes.
did it so he could seek his revenge on what he was being forced, the person, not Bradbury or
Mm-hmm.
Poe, but the person in the story
Yeah.
was using it to seek revenge for having to not enjoy the writings of Poe anymore, that they took it away. Their moral
Yeah.
laws took away the books, took away any of the fantasy, any of the good stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
this particular person decided he would get revenge along with a friend that he met who also felt shuttered into a corner and refused to to grow into the person of a well-read, you know, artisan.
Mm-hmm.
And so this one was just, it was very much, it's called Usher 2 because the setting is he rebuilt the House of Usher,
Yeah, I
but
loved
he
it.
included into it so many other parts of Poe's stories. You got the Mask of the Red Death, the Cask of Amontillado, the Telltale Heart, the
Mm-hmm.
Black Cat. uh am I missing what else am I missing? Oh,
Uh,
the pendulum, the
yes,
premature
yes.
burial.
There
I
were
think
so
that,
many.
yeah, I mean, he hit upon a lot of them, and he did it so well that you're like, cheering, because you're like, finally, use his stories and really get to the nitty gritty and protect the Poe. That
Yes.
was what I was getting from the whole thing. It was all about protecting the Poe, and
Yeah.
he got his revenge. So it was like a true thing of the very last part of the story was the ending of the Cask of Amontillado,
Yes.
and then the ending of the fall of the House of Usher. It was kind of like a two-parter, and it was really good.
It
But
was. Yeah, go ahead.
it was a modern take, and it was very modern and out there because it took place in on Mars.
Oh yeah. So I
Uh,
mean it blended all that horror with science fiction,
yeah,
and came out Bradbury.
exactly. And so that was a true homage to Poe. And then the
Yes.
Exiles,
Yes.
uh, I don't
which is,
remember. I think that
and
was a
it,
short story on its own.
well, actually, no,
So,
it's in the Illustrated Man, which I'm holding
yeah,
up. Yeah, it's in there. I'm actually like finding it right here.
yeah.
Um,
But I think one of the things is you can pull it out as a short story on its own.
pretty much all of his short stories that are within a book, you can.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's like reading all of the Martian Chronicles. They did connect in a way, but the way they were like added at one after another, I know that there had to be a whole lot of thought putting them together, but you really could pull any of them out. Like if I just didn't want to read all of it and I just wanted to read, oh, this sounds interesting, you could really pick and choose what you wanted to read.
Hmm.
But I read almost, oh, I'm almost done the whole thing because it's just really really good.
Yeah, and the Exiles I thought was very prophetic
Mm-hmm.
of his story of Fahrenheit 451. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the
it
one thing that
tied
I talk
together.
about with
Yeah.
all of his writings is it's like a layer upon a layer of the same story
Yes.
he
Yes.
uses. But at the same time, this one to me rung true with how I feel with, and I'm going to say it, the whole cancel culture thing.
Yeah.
Because this was very much reminiscent of the whole cancel culture,
Yeah.
because
And
that's what it's talking about.
absolutely. And what I was looking for the date in that the story takes place, and it's
Hmm.
the year 2120.
Yes.
And to me, that was just, again, it's like almost like predictions and things like that.
Hmm.
It was like he was off by about 100 years.
Yeah, but he was very much the futuristic because he was using the trending of what he could see in his time period and where it was
Mhm.
going and how it was happening. And I mean, that's one of the things teaching history. We all
Yeah,
know as history repeats itself because no one learns from their mistakes.
absolutely.
And that I think that's Ray Bradbury to a T because he uses that in his writings to show that no one learns and it just keeps repeating. Like with the exiles,
Hmm.
it's these authors and all these wonderful stories were exiled from Earth and they found the place on Mars to protect themselves, but
Yeah,
even then they couldn't escape it
right.
because it even found them then and then they were wiped out once more. So,
Hmm.
and I won't give any more away about that, but because I'm trying to keep it under the light of people wanting to read it on their
Yes.
own.
And the amount of authors that he mentions in The
Mhm.
Exiles is really cool.
Yeah,
And
and not just authors, but
yeah.
traditional characters in our history that were created from real people
Hmm.
that were being exiled because they no longer fit into the world of science or moral standard.
Yeah.
And that one kind of hit me hard, and I was like, oh yeah, I can see that.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I really enjoyed both of the stories that relate to Poe. And
Hmm.
I was telling Jeanie this earlier before we started recording. I found a video, it's about 11 minutes on the Britannica.com website, and we'll link that in the description. But it was Ray Bradbury basically talking about the fall of the House of Usher. And he doesn't just talk about it for the full 11 minutes, but he talks about Poe's influence on many people. And he even says, with the Exiles and Usher too, he that was his way of paying homage to Poe. And he hoped that he did, it well. And obviously he did. They're both excellent stories. But then he went in and basically broke down the fall of the House of Usher. And there's a film clip in there too. I'm not sure what version of the movie, or it may be a short film that he used, but it's one I had not seen. So Jeannie, add it to the list. We'll have to find it.
Which one?
The Fall of the House of Usher. There, I don't know what movie version this
Oh,
is,
okay.
but it could be a like short film. It seemed to me that it was probably done in the UK just based on the um accents of
Well,
the actors.
there's those that are listed on the IMDb that we use for our review morgue, and I
Right.
was thinking that that might be one of the ones because it's a short
Mm-hmm.
that might be on there, so I'll have to look.
Yeah, yeah, we'll definitely have to find it. It looked really good, and he was kind of talking. He talked about the story. He also talked about this particular film, but he didn't really say it. He just this was an adaptation of the story. He didn't really go into the details. So,
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely have to look that up because yeah, he was very much a learned man who
hmm.
truly respected the written word and Poe especially
Oh
and
yeah.
his genius. So,
Yeah, and it all started when he was about 11 years old. He decided to start imitating his favorite authors, and
mhm.
one of them was Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, he was he was a Poe man even then.
Yes, he was a visionary and a futurist, is what I kind of wrote down, and a master storyteller. Just the world, not a world without him would be lacking a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah, because he like many other authors that don't have quite the following as some of the greats, uh truly is one of the behind the scenes that kept it going.
Yeah. And we didn't even get into some of his other works that
Mhm.
have like a dark carnival atmosphere, and we won't go into all that because that would be probably another hour talking about all that.
Well, it's like I
And
said, we could do a whole string
yeah,
of episodes just on Bradbury.
exactly. So I'm very happy we decided to discuss this fantastic author
Mhm.
to open up season 6 with our first degree episode of season 6 being science fiction.
Exactly. Yeah, it was rather it was rather appropriate
Yes, yes.
to start with
So,
a Bradbury Poe fanatic, just like we are.
yes. And Ray, Eddie, if you're out
Mhm.
there time traveling,
Yep.
please pay us a stop.
Yeah. Drop in and just say hi.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Well, and then on to a new season of more Poe. And on that note, we
We
are
are
Poe out.
out.
One of the phantasmagoric conceptions of my friend, partaking not so rigidly of the spirit of abstraction, may be shadowed forth, although feebly, in words.